Ever wonder what happened to fire chief matches? Maybe you remember seeing them as a child. I know I did. That was the primary brand in our house. When I got to looking for them, couldn't find them anymore. And I started trying to find out what happened to them and ended up going down quite the rabbit hole and researching the history of fire chief matches. It turns out they started out in the Northwest and Pacific Match Company, I believe it's wrote down on the side, in Tacoma, Washington. Pacific Match Company, Tacoma, Washington. It's kind of washed out here. This sandpaper, well, it's actually not sandpaper as much as it is like sandpaper tape glued to the side of the box for the striking surface. And they were made there from, according to the Tacoma Historical Society, they were made there from 1924 to 1964, about 40 years. And after that, the brand moved on elsewhere. But before we get to that point, I want to show you what these look like. Now, these are obviously showing their age. They didn't come with the white spots on them like that. That's a product of their age. They came with a insert like this. It was much more decorative than the ones today that are trying to sell you things. No coupon on the back of this one. It's just plain cardboard. Whereas the matches that you buy today oftentimes come with a coupon inside. This box, when I bought it, I was told that it was a 1922 box of matches, but when I went to the Tacoma Historical Society's Facebook page, they listed it as starting production in 1924. So I really have no idea the age of these exactly, but I would say that 1920s would be appropriate. This is the box style they used then. And again, they were made there for about 40 years, went through different box designs. I don't have the full-size box for the latest design, but I do have the mini one. That was one of the latest designs that was made at Pacific Match Company. And let's see, it actually says it on the back here. And as far as I know, these are actually the only two. I'm not sure. Probably had some special boxes, but I haven't been able to find them. After the Pacific Match Company closed down in 1964, Transmatch Company took over the brand. And I show that because I know a lot of people wouldn't believe me when I say Transmatch, because apparently this company, while responsible for making some of the most decorative boxes I'll show you in a minute, they don't seem to exist when you Google them, or at least I would suggest you don't Google them, because you'll find a lot of dating websites. Nevertheless, it was in a town called, I guess, Kenner. I'm not real sure. Kenner, Louisiana, which actually would explain why this was the brand I was familiar with as a kid, because that's not too far from where I grew up. And they kept the same basic matchbox design as was at Pacific Match Company towards the end. Not much change. They did do some special boxes. Like I said, this was part of the Famous American series. They had Andrew Jackson and a couple of others, as well as the Harriet Beecher Stowe. So I don't have the complete series. I would love to, but I don't. Anyway, moving on. Matches look a little different. These are safety matches, whereas the others were strike anywhere. But they're not much different. As you can tell, they're still kind of rough cut. If camera will focus, there we go. But they're good. These will actually strike. Alright, moving on. We'll run out of room here. Alright, this box is one of the most iconic boxes for me, because this is the one I remember seeing first. Now, these were made in the 60s. And the other box, I'm not real sure. There's a little bit of, I should say, vagueness about when it was made. The box design suggests 50s. But, again, they were made at Pacific Match Company until the mid 1960s, so I'm not real sure. That's why I don't want to give a specific date. But these I know were made in the 60s. This was, well, I mean, it's kind of obvious it was a 60s box design just by the floral pattern. But I was born in the 70s. But my parents tended to buy a lot of things, and then they wouldn't use it. And so anyway, this first box of matches I ever saw was like this. This was in quite good condition. Even the strike surface is still intact on this one, which is quite rare for these. These, if you just touch it wrong, the striking surface will wipe off. Now, there's not any matches in this box, but this one has some in it, and trust me, they're exactly the same. And it's still the rough cut pink with white tip type. This particular box is I'm assuming a special Christmas box. Either that or a winter special. Also, I don't know if the camera will read that. Also made in Kenner, Louisiana at Transmatch Incorporated. As you can see down here, designer series match packages. And I have another one of them. I'm assuming it is like a Thanksgiving style box. Now you notice the strike surface is different on these? Come on, focus. Focus. Oh well. But that's not the only difference between these, not just the graphics. These actually have these interesting project ideas to do with the Matchbox. I don't know why you would, but whatever sells a box. Alright, moving on. After the plant in Louisiana closed down, another company bought the Fire Chief brand and proceeded to make these. These boxes, I believe, were 70s, and I don't have any direct proof of that. There's very little information online that gives specific dates, but just based on the way the design looks and other boxes of the time that I was able to date, and knowing roughly the time that Universal Match took over the Fire Chief brand, I'd say this was made around 1975 or so. And yeah, the strike surface is very characteristic of boxes during this time. Very poorly maintained. And Universal Match was in St. Louis, Missouri. Another reason why I would have not seen as many of these as I did the boxes from Louisiana. But if you notice, the matches changed a little bit. Bring back one of these boxes. See how rough cut and color different these are from Louisiana? Compare that to some of the earliest. You can see the matches made a rather sudden change. And I believe this is the time period where they swapped types of wood that they were using for the matches. This is also, like I said, strike anywhere. Got a slightly different color tip. Now, one may or may not notice this, but the smell of these versus these is different as well. These matches had almost like a scented, like a floral scent to them or something, like they were treated with some kind of perfume, whereas these have more of a typical match smell. Alright, moving along. Universal Match made many brands. They made Ohio Blue Tips for a while after the Ohio Match Factory closed down in Wadsworth, Ohio. So they had multiple brands, and perhaps some of that's the reason why they changed. But here is one of the last boxes of matches made at the actual St. Louis Universal Match manufacturing facility before they were bought out by Diamond. And this is the last box design. Although it went through a few minor changes, this is essentially the final box design. The strike strip was greatly improved, and barcodes were added. Well, actually, barcode was added there. My bad. Missed that. That's another reason why I think this one was made in the 70s, because that's about the time barcodes became somewhat universal. I do apologize. I'm not very good at making videos, but there's so little information on these matches. It was extremely difficult to find anything on these. Now, moving on to the next one, I did find some brand new, I say brand new, they were new old stock matches for sale. A company, I can't think of the name of it, Four Aces Wholesale, I believe it was, in California. And it was, let me go get another box to show it exactly. There. It was selling these. Now, you can't buy the Strike anywhere anymore because they're sold out. But you can buy these 19 something, 20 something, whatever it was, dollars a case, but they're Strike on box. And they're obviously a bit different from what was before. And you might notice this little oddity right here. This is why I picked this box. Notice what that says? It's a coupon for Diamond. And that's because, whoops, turn around. Universal Match was bought out by Diamond Brands Incorporated. Now these matches, this particular box was made in 1997. I have an exact date on it because I bought a factory case and it had the date of manufacturer printed on the side. This one I don't have an exact date for, but the coupon expires in 1999, so it leads me to believe that these were either 97 or 98. Maybe early 99 was made. But this is the newest boxes of Fire Chief matches that can be bought, because after this they made them no more. And so, to summarize, you started out here and you ended up here in a period of about 80 years. Not quite, I guess it was more like 75 years. And honestly, when you go to do research for on the history of these matches, you find practically nothing. It's like the brand was obscure somehow, despite the fact that it was made for over 70 years by at least 4 different match companies. It just faded away. And anyway, that's why I wanted to make the video, just to tell what I did know, to try to put in one spot everything I was able to find out. It's not much, but at least it's something in case anybody else is searching for, well, like I was, whatever happened to Fire Chief. Now you know when it started and when it ended, and why you can't find him anymore. I don't know, maybe Diamond just didn't like competing with itself, but for whatever reason they had a nice long run, started out with what I think was a much prettier box. Whoops, look at me. Definitely a much prettier insert there. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you found it interesting.